Hello, you lovely people. This is me, Chef Varun Inamdar, and welcome to Get Curried. Well, today's recipe is one of those most spectacular pass-arounds that today have got the eye and fancy of India and how. What I'm showing you today is possibly one of my most favorite cocktail snacks. The name, prawn sushi. Let's begin. Now this is literally translated to sour rice. Now sushi, sour rice. So the first and the most important thing is to flavor the rice. Now when you're cooking the rice, in this case Indrayani, 340 grams of Indrayani rice, or your Japanese rice, 375 grams of water. To this I'm going to add in 85 ml of rice vinegar, around 50 grams of sugar and around 10 grams of salt. Now this is a standard recipe, ladies and gentlemen. Do not play around with this. Now what needs to be done is, Indrayani rice needs to be cooked in 375 ml of water, covered and then just kept to cook in its own steam. After which I'm going to add in the rice vinegar. To this I'm adding in sugar. Well, generally I always say salt as required, but in this case, categorically, please follow the recipe. And we bring all of this together. Now at this point in time, you'll realize that the rice is just perfectly sticky, and it also needs to be at room temperature, very importantly. Once all of this has come together, it of course is sticky, but it is not like glue, and it also is separate, which is very tricky in this case. But nevertheless, you make the recipe the way I'm showing you, it turns out like magic. Let's transfer all of this into another bowl and cover this rice with a damp cloth. Let's keep this aside for now, and let's make gari shoga or pickled ginger at home. Now again, a very simple recipe. In a stock pot, sugar. Now you can reduce the sweetness, you can increase it. Now this is something that I have been making for years, and I like the kind of sweetness that gari shoga homemade has. White vinegar, water, and last but not the least, salt. Now this in a way is brine in the making, and gari shoga is pickled ginger, like I said, which goes on the side as an accompaniment to the sushi. Let's mix all of this together, allow this to get onto a roll boil. Now for this, of course, you need a young ginger which is fresh, absolutely, and we're supposed to peel this and then cut these into strips like so. Allow this to roll boil for 2 minutes on high flame. The moment the ginger hits the acetic acid or citric acid for that matter, it'll start changing to hues of pink, and that is how young ginger actually reacts and becomes the most amazing naturally colored gari shoga. Let's keep this aside and move on to the assembly of the sushi. Now for this, of course, we have the vinegared sweet rice which is done and ready. We have avocados here which are cut and ready. Now do not choose avocado which is mushy. That's best for guacamoles or dips and things like that. But for sushi, always choose avocados which are firm and ripe. Cucumber, of course. Do not cut these into juliennes or matchsticks. Batons are just about perfect. French fries, just about perfect. And along with this, I have prawns here. Now these are Venami prawns which are very easily available. What I have done is I have inserted a toothpick into it, just lengthwise like so, and then boiled this in salted water. Now that way the prawn does not curl. If you boil it just like that, it'll curl, it'll become like a little coin. You want it to be nice and straight, because when you actually lace it in a sushi, you want it to be straight. But having said all of that, it's also important to remove the toothpick, because you do not want anybody to have accidents at the dinner table. Now bamboo mats generally are expensive, and it's not something that we use on a daily basis. What I have done for all of you is I have taken a file folder which is for our office use. I have actually cling wrapped the file, and that now becomes my mat to make the sushi at home. You dip your fingers in cold water, you pick rice almost the size of a Valencia orange, and you place it like so. Now with the help of your fingers, you just dab this like so that the base layer is absolutely even and smooth. Ensure that the sides are also in shape. Now let's begin with cucumber. Some prawns, of course. These are not raw, these are cooked. And along with this, avocado. And like I said earlier, ripe but firm. Now, take the end which is closer to you and try to take it right on top of the filling like so. Now, when you're pressing, you of course need to press with the help of your fingers like so. And then you lift this lightly and give this another roll. And again press it. And while you are pressing, you also need to ensure that this is not a round, but it's actually a square. So ensure that you fold it like so, and then one last fold. Now here is the moment of truth. Here you have your sushi done and ready. Now of course, if you had nori sheets, this would look black in color, and then you would have like a layer of rice, and then you would have avocados, ebi, prawns, and cucumber. One last little thing, you take white sesame seeds like so. You can add or throw rather a few even at the mat. And along with this, black sesame seeds. Now the whole idea is to ensure that all of this also sticks onto the surface of the sushi. And that not only adds into the taste, but also the final look of your dish. Once all of this is done and ready, the next step is very simple, and that is cutting the sushi, of course. You need a sharp knife which needs to be dipped in cold water. With this, ladies and gentlemen, prawn sushi at home, economically viable. You do not need the sham that comes along with the expense. Make this at home, enjoy.